It was a bright morning when the flight to Miami was ready to take off. The plane was full of excited travelers, families on vacation, business people in suits, and others just looking forward to their destinations. Among them was a man named Marcus, a kind and quiet black man who loved reading books. Marcus had his favorite book in hand as he walked down the aisle, looking for his seat. He smiled politely at the people he passed, but some didn't smile back. That didn't bother Marcus. He was used to it and believed in being kind anyway. When he found his seat near the window, he sat down and buckled his seatbelt, ready for the journey ahead. Not long after, a flight attendant named Jessica walked down the aisle checking passengers. Jessica was tall with shiny blonde hair, and she always wore a big, fake smile. She was known for being friendly to some passengers, but not so nice to others. When she saw Marcus, her smile faded. Jessica stopped at his row and said in a loud voice, "Excuse me, sir. Are you sure you're in the right seat?" Marcus looked at his ticket and nodded. "Yes, ma'am, this is my seat." Jessica crossed her arms. Let me see that ticket." She snatched it from his hand and inspected it as if she didn't believe him. Passengers nearby began to watch. Some whispered to each other. After a moment, Jessica handed the ticket back with a cold look. "Fine, but don't make any trouble," she said, as if Marcus had done something wrong. Marcus felt his face grow warm with embarrassment. He hadn't done anything to deserve this treatment, but he stayed quiet. He didn't want to cause a scene. As the flight went on, Jessica continued to ignore Marcus. When she served drinks, she skipped his row. When he politely asked for water, she pretended not to hear him. Other passengers noticed, and some felt uncomfortable, but no one said anything. Marcus tried to focus on his book, but it was hard. Then something unexpected happened. The plane hit a patch of turbulence. It wasn't too bad at first, but then the shaking got worse. Passengers gasped, and some held onto their armrests tightly. Jessica, who had been walking down the aisle, stumbled and dropped a tray of drinks. The cups spilled all over her uniform, and she let out a loud yelp. Marcus looked up from his book and saw Jessica struggling. Even though she had been unkind to him, he unbuckled his seatbelt and stood up to help. "Are you okay?" he asked, offering her a napkin from his pocket. Jessica looked at him, surprised. She hesitated before taking the napkin. Thank you," she muttered. For the first time, she looked embarrassed. Some passengers clapped for Marcus's kindness, but the turbulence wasn't over. Suddenly, the pilot's voice came over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated and fasten your seatbelts. We're experiencing some rough air." Marcus quickly helped Jessica sit down and buckled her into an empty seat near him. She looked shaken but safe. As the plane continued to bounce, Marcus noticed a small child a few rows ahead crying loudly. The child's mother looked panicked and didn't know what to do. Without hesitation, Marcus got up again, despite the turbulence, and walked to the child. "Hey there, little one," he said gently. "It's going to be okay. Let's take some deep breaths together." The child sniffled but began to copy Marcus, breathing deeply. Soon the crying stopped, and the mother thanked him with tears in her eyes. Jessica watched all this in silence, her cheeks red. She realized how wrong she had been to judge Marcus. But the story wasn't over yet. Something even more surprising was about to happen. As the turbulence calmed down, the plane's passengers let out a collective sigh of relief. Jessica, still sitting near Marcus, turned to him. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "I haven't treated you fairly, and I'm sorry." Marcus gave her a kind smile. "It's okay. Everyone has bad days." Before Jessica could reply, the captain's voice came on the intercom again. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We'll be making an emergency landing at the nearest airport due to a technical issue. Please remain calm and follow the instructions of the flight attendants." Gasps filled the cabin. Jessica's face turned pale. She stood up, this time with a determined expression. "Everyone, please stay seated and fasten your seatbelts. We'll guide you through this." Marcus noticed how nervous she looked. He leaned over and said, "You've got this. You're trained for moments like these." Jessica nodded, her confidence returning slightly. She began assisting passengers, making sure everyone was secure. Meanwhile, Marcus comforted those around him, especially the older passengers and children who seemed the most scared. As the plane prepared to descend, a sudden loud noise startled everyone. The cabin lights flickered and the oxygen mask dropped down. Marcus reached for his mask and helped the person next to him put theirs on. He could see Jessica moving quickly, helping where she could, but it was clear that fear had gripped many on board. Despite the chaos, Marcus remained calm. He began speaking in a steady voice, reminding people to breathe slowly and reassuring them that the crew was doing their best. His calm demeanor spread, and soon the cabin was quieter, with passengers focusing on his words. The plane finally touched down with a jarring thud. People screamed, but within moments it came to a stop. Emergency vehicles surrounded the plane, and the flight attendants began guiding passengers out. Marcus stayed back, helping those who needed assistance, including Jessica, who twisted her ankle during the landing. As they exited the plane, Jessica looked at Marcus with tears in her eyes. "You didn't just help me, you helped everyone." "Thank you," Marcus smiled. "We're all in this together." But as they reached the airport terminal, a stranger approached Marcus with a look of recognition. "Excuse me," the man said. "Are you the Marcus Johnson who wrote that book about kindness?" Jessica turned to Marcus in shock. "Wait, you're an author?" Marcus chuckled. "I am, but it's just a little book I wrote a while ago." The stranger shook his head. "It's not just a little book. It changed my life. You have no idea how much your words mean to people." Jessica listened, her respect for Marcus growing even more. She realized that the man she had judged unfairly was not only kind, but also someone who inspired others. Later, as Marcus sat quietly waiting for his next flight, Jessica approached him again. She handed him a cup of coffee and sat down beside him. "I've been thinking about everything that happened," she began, "and I want to do better. Your book, what's it called? I want to read it." Marcus smiled warmly. "It's called The Ripple Effect of Kindness." Jessica nodded, making a mental note. "Thank you for teaching me something I should have known all along." As they sat there talking and laughing, it was clear that the events of the day had changed not just Jessica, but many others on that flight. Marcus's kindness had rippled out, leaving a lasting impact that no one would forget. And while the journey had been turbulent, it was a reminder that even in the toughest moments, kindness could bring people together. Thank you for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with your friends too. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories. Have a nice day.